I can't drink my I can't drink my coffee when I'm oh, we're on. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning, everyone. You fine people on YouTube this morning. So we are triple streaming again this morning, and I will be closing the TikTok down relatively shortly. What we're going to be talking about for you guys on YouTube, we're going to be talking about. First of all, we're going to be talking about this conflict in Ukraine. We're going to be talking about the latest news from the United States. We're going to be talking about Zelensky and Trump's peace deal negotiation that went exactly as I said it would go. Look, guys, like yesterday or the day before, somebody asked me on the chat, they said, Sean, what's going to happen at this peace negotiation, this peace summit when Zelensky meets Trump? And I said, absolutely nothing's going to happen. They'll shake hands. They'll say they've had a good meeting. They're almost there. And that will be it. Nothing will happen. And exactly the same's happened. One thing I was wrong about, though. I did say, or when I told people what was going to happen, I did think that Trump would say, I need to have a phone call with Putin. I need to call Putin up and make sure we can get this thing over the line. I thought that would happen, but it didn't. That actually happened before the meeting. So I said the phone call would happen after the meeting. It actually happened before the meeting. And then we're going to be talking about what an absolute parody we live in the United Kingdom. And I'm talking about how Keir Starmer has welcomed in this guy, Alaa Abd al-Fattah. The paradoxes here are absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to be giving you guys, I'm going to be showing you guys some videos basically. Back in 2022, Keir Starmer was he was out on the in the dispatch box, not in the dispatch box, in the leader of the opposition, and he was saying how disgusting it was that this guy had been sent to prison in Egypt for Facebook posts. He was saying that. So, right, okay, so in your head, you're like, right, okay, so Keir Starmer is against sending people to jail for online social media posts. Okay, right, okay, got it. And then we come to the United Kingdom in, what was it, 2023? Literally a year later, Keir Starmer's throwing people in jail left, right, and centre for online social media posts. Okay, right, okay, so, right, he's changed his mind now. He's pro sending people to jail for social media posts. And then he welcomes him back into the country, saying he's delighted that he's back in the United Kingdom and that his case was a top priority for his government. I'm going to read you guys. I'm not going to read you guys the comments. I'm going to show you guys the comments because the hypocrisy is phenomenal. The hypocrisy is absolutely phenomenal. That's what we're going to be talking about this morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are. You guys on Martin Quinn on TikTok is saying, looks like our government is trying to create a war within the United Kingdom by letting these, I think he means letting these people in. I think that's what he means. So I'm going to close you guys down now on TikTok. If you want to continue this live stream, guys, I'm going to be continuing this for the next hour or so. I'll be over on YouTube. I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube, and I hope to see you guys there. I forgot how to talk. If not, I'll be back on this evening. I'm going to try and start the TikTok excuse me. I'm going to try and start the TikTok live stream this evening at around 7:30, and then I'll just be milling about. I'll just be milling about, and then I'll start the live stream where I can talk a little bit more freely. Because look, I've literally got a cup of coffee like here, right off the shot in TikTok. And if I literally, guys, this is how ridiculous it is on TikTok. If I drink coffee on TikTok. Hello, Victoria, Sandy, and Walton, and Gillian Skinner. If I drink my coffee on TikTok, I will get a live stream banned. I will get that. That's how they roll. So I can't drink coffee. So it's in the morning. I want to have my drink of coffee. So I'm going to jump over to YouTube. I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube, and I hope to see you there. If not, I'll see you later. Are we off? No, we're not. Are we off? Yes. Right, that's done. Oh, that's done. Let me have some caffeine. Right, let me put the chat on. Sorry, guys. Martin Quinn is coffee is black and black coffee matters. It does. It does. Black coffee matters. I love black coffee. Pop the chat on. It's on. It's on the chat. Right. Listen, guys. The questions I want to ask you now is, look, in 2022, all right, in 2022, nobody, when I started talking about this in 2022, nobody thought that we would be where we are right now. Like, just be honest, guys. In 2022, when the Russians went into Ukraine, did you think that this would drag British boots? Do you think that the British military would get involved militarily? Or did everybody think, oh, God, no, that never happened. That's going to be World War III. And whatever you thought in 2022, just be honest. Like, you know, I'm not saying you wouldn't be honest, but like, if you're honest with yourself, from 2022 with this invasion of Ukraine to where we are now in almost 2026, do you feel that we are more or less likely to put British boots on the ground now? I don't think it's really a question. I think it's a no-brainer. So whatever the answer to that is. So that's the direction of travel. You know, there's all these flim-flammering. And, you know, every time, right now for me, this is quite humorous because I'm seeing all these half-baked commentators. You know, these half-baked commentators and news anchors and so-called journalists that they literally don't know what they're talking about. Every 2 minutes, there's a new peace deal and a new ceasefire negotiation and a new weapon system and something new. Nothing's going to happen, guys. This is what's going to happen. Nothing else. All right. The Russians will keep pushing forwards in Ukraine until they hit the River Dnipro. And when they hit the River Dnipro, at some point, which is an inevitability, there's a slight chance for a ceasefire negotiation. When the Russians hit that River Dnipro, there is a slight chance for a ceasefire negotiation. Only then, not before. Literally, like it's so embarrassing and it's so futile to think that people can have a ceasefire negotiation before that has happened. Up until that point, we're going to be spending more money. More people are going to be losing their lives, and it's just slowly dragging people. It's just slowly dragging people into this conflict. So I'm gonna read real quick this article here from Sky News. Let me just I'll put it up and then I'll close it. So this is the article I'm going to be reading today. I'm just going to read this because it shows you how deluded people are. Really, people have no idea. People have no idea. So the article states, it's easy to get lost in multi-point plans and spin, but Zelensky's reaction to Trump said it all. The Mar-a-Lago meeting between Trump and Vladimir Zelensky did not materially move things forward. I said it wouldn't, but there were some notable takeaways. No, there wasn't. And no bust up like the infamous Oval Office encounter in February. So, you know when I've said to you guys how the Russians play things, when I've said that, you know, they send all these negotiators out to have these negotiations, and then they all have this little meeting and they go to Russia. If you guys can remember, the first, I think the Americans went to Russia and they had I don't know, I think it was like a 4-day meeting. The first 3 days of that meeting, they were just like going to restaurants and eating, and they weren't really talking about anything. That's what Trump's doing. That is literally what Trump's doing. He's whining and dining them. He's getting people drunk, and they're not really talking about anything, and that's it. Not going backwards is a win. Given Donald Trump's fraught relationship with Zelensky, that's important. The Mar-a-Lago meeting did not materially move things forward, but nor was there a bust-up like that Oval Office moment in February. There were, however, some notable takeaways. Zelensky's facial expressions. Is this where we're going now? Is this where people have to go now? Are things that bad? Are things that bad We've got nothing of substance to talk about, so we're having to talk about facial expressions. Can you imagine having like some sort of peace ceasefire negotiation, and the only thing that the media can take away is somebody's facial expressions? Yes, well, we didn't get any real concrete dates on a ceasefire or any movement forwards with land, but look at Zelensky's facial expressions. Come on, guys, seriously? Is this where we are? And when I talk about half-baked journalists and people who don't know what they're talking about, this is a prime example. At times, Zelensky looks exacerbated, like when Trump made light of a profoundly important negotiation by talking about the Mar-a-Lago food and the physique of the Ukrainian leaders' generals' playground stuff. So, if you guys, again, it's so absurd. Think about this, right? Just like it's very easy to disassociate. And you know what? Look, guys, if most people, if you live in the United Kingdom, I understand you're disassociated, but just picture this right now, okay? Picture this right now. There are young Ukrainian men and young Russian men on the front line in some of the harshest conditions known to man, fighting. Some of them are not going home. In fact, the same person never goes home from a war. So none of them will go home, and some of them will go home and in a different method. And world leaders come together, and this is all they got to talk about: the food and how fat one of the generals were. That's it. That is literally. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that is? So when people say, the next time there's going to be some sort of there's going to be some sort of ceasefire and a new negotiation and a new plan, and Trump's giving Putin 7 days. It's ridiculous. It's not going to stop. Nobody's got any intention of it to stop. It's an absolute meat grinder, and unfortunately, the longer this goes on, the inevitability is the inevitability. It will drag British boots on the ground. Now, I don't know when that's going to be. It could be when the Russians push up to the River Dnipro. There may be some sort of, at that point, there may be some sort of realistic hope for at least a temporary ceasefire. But until then, it's absurd. It's absurd and it's embarrassing. And, I think everybody knows this. I think everybody knows this because it just is ridiculous. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the River Dnipro. So we've got Ukraine here. This is the River Dnipro. Listen, guys, at the River Dnipro's widest point, it's comparable to the English Channel. All right, so that's how wide that River Dnipro is. At the shortest point, it's maybe a kilometer. So it's a big, it's a big river. And until the Russians get there, which is a natural barrier, there's nothing to stop them. Yes, there are defensive. The Ukrainians have dug defensive lines, but the Russians will take over them. You can't. It's very difficult to fight over water. It really is. So what I'm saying you'll have the Russians move up that 130 kilometers or whatever it is. Obviously, it's a lot less down here, but you'll have the Russians move up to the River Dnipro. Russians will be on this side. Ukrainians will be on this side. Nice new boundary in the middle. And that's when you may get a ceasefire. You may get a ceasefire negotiation at that point. Now, if that happens at that point, that's when boots on the ground. Well, that's when, people will be talking about British boots on the ground. Until then, I just see this slow grinding movement forwards. So that's what's happening in Ukraine, guys. I was going to do this. I was going to do 2 live streams this morning because what I'm going to talk about next, it's it's total. It's not in the same. It's not really in the same. It's not really in the same sphere. But I want to talk about this guy that Keir Starmer has welcomed back into the United Kingdom. Now, it really is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. This guy is welcomed back in. So let me. Which way do I go first? Do I go this one? Right. So I'm talking about this guy, Allah Abda Al Fattah. So I'm just going to share with you guys. What do I do? I'm just trying to think of which way to go first on this. In fact, let me get some chat comments first. Oh, hang on, it's Footlong's birthday. Oh shit. Happy birthday, Footlong. I mean, he's cracked some beers already. It was fantastic cracking some beers. Templamat is saying, regarding this framework, what is the best way of getting the public to back the idea that it can be discussed in Parliament? I'm pretty okay. So look, guys, one of the tropes of this channel. Okay, one of the tropes. You know what? This actually segues me well into what I'm going to talk about next. So one of the tropes of this channel is, like, here in the United Kingdom, we can't oppose our government. We don't have the authority to oppose the government. And for anybody who thinks we do, literally tell me how we oppose the government. Guys, listen, if there's anybody on the channel right now and what I'm saying, you want to counter that, what I'm saying, please let me know what you think. Because I'm saying, and I'm claiming right now quite openly, that the British people have we cannot oppose our government. For example, if here in the United Kingdom, the government passed a law whereby every firstborn child had to be given to the government and you never saw that child back, and the gavel went down on that, I would speculate most people would disagree with that law, right? But because it's passed as a law, the police are obliged to uphold that law. So that would be in the law, and the police would come round and take your firstborn child. They would have to. It's the law. And what I'm saying is we have no way to oppose that. Yes, of course. No government are going to pass that law. Really? Well, I'm not even going to say anything about that. Or a real world example, for example. So in the real world, we had a hotel in Epping that the people of Epping wanted to get closed down. Now, look, guys, it doesn't matter whether it's a hotel. It could have been a hotel. It could have been a radio station. It could have been a new pub. Could have been anything. All right. The people who the government who should have control of the country, the people didn't want that hotel operating the way it was. Now, I'm not, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So the people did everything legally, all right? They protested, mass support throughout the country. They lobbied, their local council. The local council were like, yeah, we agree this hotel needs to be closed. Absolutely fine. Their local member of parliament said, yep, this hotel needs to be closed. The government said, yeah, we're keeping it open. Yeah, you can't, that's it now. It's just staying open. So there you've got the wild conspiracy of the firstborn child given to the government. That's obviously, a wild conspiracy. And then you've got the real world example. And what I say to people all the time on this channel is we have no legal framework to oppose a tyrannical government. And that's the truth. That is absolutely the truth. And if you think we have, put it in the chat. So we have voting. So if you guys want to look into this, the three main methods are this: voting. You can vote your government out every 4 years. You can vote your government out. How's that going for us? How's voting going, guys? Like, how's voting? Well, bad. So let me know how you think voting is going. A lot of elections are being cancelled or postponed in the United Kingdom. So voting's your main way. The second way is you can have peaceful protests. Again, tell me how those protests are going. How are those peaceful protests going? I don't know. Let me know. Are they having an effect? Epping, did they have an effect in Epping? I don't know. And then the third way, you can write to your local MP and lobby your local MP. With that Epping example, I've just shown you how that has no effect at all. So when I say we have no legal framework to oppose a tyrannical government, tell me what it is, guys. Tell me what it is. In America, they have the Second Amendment. So let me just read the US Second Amendment for you guys. I could probably read it off the top of my head. I could probably read it off the top of my head, but I'm gonna. What's going on there? All right, sorry, but I could probably read it off the top of my head, but I'll get this up. So the Second Amendment is as follows. I will share this with you guys now. So in the US, they have the Second Amendment. Now, I'll jump back onto this comment in a second. So in the United States, they have something called the Second Amendment. Now, the Second Amendment is not about having firearms, but it is. It's this here. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. That little sentence there. Okay, that little sentence there, because those well-regulated militias are there to provide the ultimate backstop against the government. That's the reality. In America, they can form militias, and those militias have the, can oppose the government if the government turn into tyrants. And one of the reasons, I believe that things are going so bad in the United Kingdom right now is because we have no such law or legislation. Like, we can't come together in the United Kingdom and say, right, we've got this group of 50 men and we are coming together and we are going to forcibly oppose the government. It's illegal. It's absolutely illegal. It is. And then obviously you've got the second part of the Second Amendment, which is the right to the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So the Second Amendment in the United States is not for hunting. It's not for, it's not because people like guns, although they may do. It's to keep checks and balances on the government. It's so the government in the United States, for example, let me give you this other example now. So in the United Kingdom, remember that example I gave you, the firstborn child in the United Kingdom. Total conspiracy, guys. This is just an example. It's a wild example, okay? In the United Kingdom, if that law happened, Keir Starmer, let's just total conspiracy. Let's say you had some dodgy judges, some dodgy people in the right places in Parliament, and they passed a law so wild, so insane, it was just so crazy. Firstborn child had to be given to the government, and you never see that child again. The gavel's down, and the police are enforcing it. Right? In the UK, we don't have a mechanism to oppose that law. In the United States, let's just say that happens in the United States. Let's just say that happens in Texas, all right, or wherever. They bring down the gavel and they say, "Yep, this is now law in Texas." The Texans, they say, "Yeah, we're good with that. We're not going to do that law." And then the government say, "Yeah, you are." And the Texans say, "Nope, we're not. Come and make us." Order is restored. Balance is restored. We don't have that in the United Kingdom, guys. So anybody that says we do, they are they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. So when Matt is asking, so when Matt's asking regarding this framework, what is the best way of getting the public to back it? We need to start the conversation, and the conversation needs to be had. So you can do petitions. Petitions are not going to help. We need to get this mainstream. And can you imagine right now, how do you answer that question? So let's just say that somebody stands up in Parliament and says, "Keir, mate, just out of interest, what legal framework do the citizens of the UK have to oppose this government if this government turns tyrannical?" Very difficult for him to box his way out of that question. Oh, they can vote. Yeah, but what if voting's not working? Because you're cancelling the elections. You see, it's it's a powerful question for the opposition to ask. Because Keir Starmer's only real answers can be voting protesting and writing to your local MP. So here's how the question goes. Right, Keir, Starmer, mate, how do people oppose a tyrannical government? Well, they can vote their way out of it. Yeah, but you're cancelling the elections. They can peacefully protest. Yeah, they did that in Epping. You still didn't go. You still went away against them. They can lobby their local MP. Yep, did that again in Epping. Did that loads of hotels around the United Kingdom. All their local MPs are on side. So how do people in the United Kingdom oppose a tyrannical government? He can't answer it. He can't answer that question. It's impossible. So the best way, and it's the simplest way, just start this conversation. Look, guys, I don't want to take credit for this. Just start that conversation with your friends and family. Like, ask your friends and family. And it's a question, and it's so far out there. But people are trying to focus on the wrong things. Everybody wants to see a million men protest going down to London. It's not going to happen. You know, storming the gates of Westminster. I don't think it should happen either, because I don't want anybody to get hurt. But people are thinking that sort of stuff's coming. It's not. It's a slow nut. It's a slow nut, and it's being tightened slowly. It's a slow nut. It's a nut that's being tightened slowly. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are on... Oh, hang on. John Giles is saying, I've decided Starmer and Labour are untouchable. They literally get away with... I'm not sure what he's going to say next. Look, remember when you guys were saying, oh, Starmer's gone, he's going to get ousted. I was like, not a chance. Not a dilly chance. So I am going to jump on to Keir Starmer now. Like I said, guys, okay, this was good. This was supposed to be... I was going to do this live stream in 2 parts, but I've got to go and drop the girls off, and then I've got to go and collect some wood. So I'm just not going to, and then I want to go for a run as well. So I'm just not going to be able to do this in 2 parts. So the second part, I'm going to hit it now. John Giles is saying, Keir Starmer is untouchable, I've decided. So let's jump on this now, guys. So let's jump on this now. I'm going to share you a video of Keir Starmer in, this was him in, when was it? I think this was 2020, right, 2022 sometime. So let me share this video of Keir Starmer, and you'll see why I'm going with this, guys, all right? You'll see why I'm going with this, where I'm going with this, all right? So this is Keir Starmer. Well, it's clearly November time, right? So this was Keir Starmer around about November time, 2022. Let's just see what he says.
And can I start by raising the case of Alaa Abdul Fattah?
Yeah.
As the Prime Minister knows and has said, he's a British citizen, jailed for the crime of posting on social media.
God forbid. Can you imagine, guys? Can you imagine how bad it would be? This poor guy, he's been sent to jail for the crime of posting on social media. Disgusting.
And been imprisoned in Egypt for most of the last 9 years. Yeah. He's been on hunger strike for the last 6 months. Now, the Prime Minister just said that he raised it with President Sisi. Could he tell us what progress he made in...
Okay, so you've got that guy there, and then I've got... is it this one? No, it's not that one. Hang on. Oh, I did have it. Right, I did have it. Where is it? Ah, there we are. Right, is this it? Hang on, give me a second, guys. Oh, I did have a video of him. Right, I did have a video from, I think I've deleted it. So I had basically a video there on, I think I've deleted it. I had a video on GB News, and what they're saying on GB News is they're making the comparison between what Keir Starmer said in that, what Keir Starmer said there, by, you know, how he thinks it's disgusting that people have been sent to jail for social media posts. And then guess what? They are comparing that to Keir Starmer sending people to jail for social media posts. Now, this particular gentleman, right, let me just share with you guys some of the things he said. Let me just share with you guys some of the things he said. So I think it's this one. So this is the guy who, Keir Starmer, he's been fighting to get him out of a prison because he doesn't think he should be in prison for social media posts. Couple of things he said here. Now, I'm not going to read them out, but can you guys read them? I don't know if you guys can read them or not. If you guys can read them, they're pretty, I mean, they're not just spicy, they're pretty inflammatory. You know, they are pretty inflammatory, what he's saying. And you've got to look at this and you've got to think, right, okay, what is actually happening here? You know, what is actually happening here? Like, if you was an alien, imagine you're an alien right now, all right? You're an alien and you're looking down, all right? So you're an alien. First of all, let's look at the United Kingdom, right? You're looking down on the United Kingdom, all right? Because this will confuse aliens. So you're an alien now. You're looking down on the United Kingdom, and what you're seeing is, so you're an alien, right? You're looking down on the United Kingdom and you're looking at what's happening, right? And you see people getting sent to jail for social media posts, right? In the United Kingdom, because you've seen people get sent to jail for, look, guys, and I'm not criticizing, I'm saying this is fact. In the United Kingdom, people are getting sent to jail for social media posts, right? So the aliens are saying, oh, okay, right, okay, yeah, right, okay, got it. Social media posts is worse than, you know, some of the things that happen to young girls and people don't see prison time. You know what I'm talking about, right? So the aliens are now thinking, right, okay, as for these people down there, social media posts are is now a worse crime than doing those things to the girls, right? That's what they're saying, because we've all seen these people getting let off because they didn't understand that it was illegal, and they didn't understand it's a different culture, and they're a little bit confused, and it's not their first language, and he didn't know it was not consent because he didn't speak that language. You know, we've all seen this type of stuff, right? So the aliens are now look at the police officers. Look at the Manchester 2. All right, look at the Manchester 2. Okay, look at Ricky Jones. Look at Ricky Jones. All right, forget that. Look at Ricky Jones. So the aliens are looking down now, and they're looking down and they're saying, right, okay, posting on social media gets you sent to jail. Shouting something in front of a crowd, saying things really bad, that doesn't get you sent to jail. Right, okay, I've got this. Right, I've got this. Having fisticuffs with police officers, that doesn't allegedly get you sent to jail yet, because I don't think those guys are going to get sent to jail. Anyway, that's what the aliens are looking. And now the aliens are looking and saying, oh, hang on a minute. Now we've got this government who are saying it's bad to send people to jail for social media posts. So, like, it's just so confusing, guys. It's so confusing. It really is confusing. Right. I have found that video. Let me share this video with you guys, because I need to be very careful, because I don't want to get banned. So let me share this video with you guys. I think it's this one. Yes.
So Keir Starmer is under pressure this morning over Alaa Abdel Fattah, the activist that he welcomed into Britain at the weekend.
Well, since then, old posts have emerged on X, or formerly Twitter, where he called for violence against Jews, white people and police, comments he's now very definitely apologising for, as you would if you want to stay in Britain, of course.
The Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, says the remarks are disgusting and wants his British citizenship to be reviewed.
Nigel Farage has written to the Home Secretary, urging her to go further than that, to revoke that citizenship entirely and deport him.
Yeah, joining us now is former political advisor Charlie Rowley. The thing is, this is a man who, well, Kemi Badenoch says in the Mail today, she says that he should have received a fair trial in Egypt. That is certainly true about this man. But also, you know, the point is, the second truth is, the comments he made on social media about violence against Jews, white people and the police, amongst others, are disgusting. But the Tory party, when they were in, also supported him.
Yeah, well, all of those things could be true at the same time. So,
So what he's saying there is, it's like something I say. Sometimes things seem to contradict themselves, but they don't, because you can have these things that are true at the same time. So you can have the Tory party saying this guy shouldn't be in jail for social media posts. Which, guys, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think anybody should be sent to jail for social media posts. I don't. Once you open that can, you go down a slippery path. All right, because then you start going into context. You start to creep that. But the problem lies here with the hypocrisy, where Keir Starmer's been saying we shouldn't have people, you know, this guy shouldn't be in jail for social media posts, while he's putting people in jail for social media posts. So it's the hypocrisy of it.
On the back of those comments, which, Eamon, I think you're absolutely right. You know, you would say that, wouldn't you? Would apologise if you want to stay in the UK. But his citizenship, as Kemi says, should be reviewed. And if necessary, Nigel Farage can also be right that it should be revoked. Of course, nobody perhaps knew at the time, when people were campaigning for his release, these social media posts that have come to light now. Who's at fault of that? Maybe the individual. It's very easy to jump on a campaigning bandwagon, like I think some people in the art circles have done, calling for his release without knowing the full facts. But it didn't take long, clearly, for journalists and people on social media to expose these tweets that he'd made, these awful comments.
Which he had deleted.
Which he had deleted, you're absolutely right.
So on a cursory look, you could understand why perhaps if you were just doing cursory looks on these things, you might have missed them.
Yes, exactly. No politician, whatever their colours, is going to support someone with these views to have citizenship. However, it's...
I would argue that. I would argue that.
Now what happens, it's now who didn't do the due diligence, and that could have been the civil service, that could have been officials within the Foreign Office. But the flagrant campaigning by, it seems, more of the Labour Party and the Labour government to have him released is one thing, over and above, I suppose, everybody else. But does this man have to have his citizenship revoked? I think, if necessary, absolutely. You could apologise for these comments. Lucy Connolly made some awful comments not so long ago when she called for the burning down of a mosque when there were riots taking place in Southport, you know, on the back of a killing of 3 very, very young girls. You know, it was horrible. She said something that she didn't want to, or she didn't mean to. She apologised. She deleted that tweet. She was banged up for 18 months. This guy makes some awful tweets, anti-Semitic, hate, vile, anti-British, anti-Western tweets that are attack virtually on all of us, and gets UK citizenship.
Yeah.
So I think this is the problem that everybody's looking at the moment. It's the perceived hypocrisy. You know, it's the perceived hypocrisy. It's literally, it feels to me like it's one rule for one and one rule for another. That's literally, you know, that is literally what it feels like. It feels like you're allowed to criticize, you know, you're allowed to criticize anything as long as it's not something. If that, I've got to be careful what I say, right? It feels to me like you're allowed to make these inflammatory comments, you know, what he's made. I've just shared them with you. But then if you criticize anything that would be diametrically opposed to those counters, so for example, it seems like an orange can insult an apple, but an apple can't insult an orange. If you guys know where I'm going with that, right? James is saying the papers and media have already said Starmer will be going in 2026. The powers that be will tell us what the plan is normally anyway. So I reckon Starmer will be gone by June. The next PM could be worse. Okay, so I don't think Starmer's going anywhere. There have been plenty of opportunities. He's clearly there for a reason. You know, he's clearly there for a reason. Whatever that reason, you know, guys, you've got to look into Starmer's background, and I don't think they're going to be able to find someone as, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to get myself, I genuinely don't want to get myself arrested. Look into Starmer's ties with Lord Ali, all right? Look into Starmer's ties with Lord Ali. It's on Wikipedia. Literally, it's on Wikipedia, guys, all right? You know what? I'll do it. Let me do it for you now. Hang on, where do I go? Okay, right. So, so for those of you guys who don't know, right, one of the biggest donors to the Labour Party is this guy here, Lord Ali. All right, that's the reality. There's no denying that. All right, nobody is denying that this guy here, Lord Ali, is a huge donator to the Labour Party, right? You know, everybody knows that. Literally, everybody knows that this guy, Lord Ali, is a huge donator to the Labour Party. No question of it. Remember Free Gear Kia and how this guy was buying, I think he was buying Keir Starmer's wife clothes, right? Yeah, that's the reality, okay? Now, let's just look down here, okay? This bit here. Ali started work as a junior researcher for a finance magazine, crediting his first success to Salam Gaya. And if you want to go and look at that person, you can. But I'm not. I'm just going to stick with Wikipedia, who hired him. After a few years of preparing monthly reports for potential investors, he was headhunted by Save and Prosper, part of Robert Fleming Co. Eventually, he turned to his original employer and worked his way up the media business with Robert Maxwell's stable of productions. So what he did is he had his initial, well, there we go, look. Sorry. He then went to the city for a second career in investment banking. All right. So he had his first career in media. All right. Now, what transferable skills do you guys have when you work in media that would make you be a very successful investment banker? I don't know. Anyway, he worked his way up in the media business within Robert Maxwell's productions. So who's Robert Maxwell? Let's just click on this. Let's just click on Robert Maxwell. See who he is. Oh, Robert Maxwell, of Jewish descent. He escaped occupation of his native Czechoslovakia. Guys, there's so much to unpack here. But basically, Robert Maxwell is the father of, where is it here? She should be on here somewhere. Of Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, so let's see who Ghislaine Maxwell is. Oh, she's in prison. What's she in prison for? Oh, so I don't know. Tell me there's not a connection there, guys. Tell me there's not a connection between Keir Starmer. Literally a couple of clicks on Wikipedia and you find that connection. The film Independence Day, the lefties would go into a building with a sign welcoming the aliens and all get zapped, and we be the ones dealing with the aliens. Debbie Doobs is saying it's a cult. It certainly feels like it, guys. It certainly feels like it. Ali sounds very Western. How much does it cost to buy a lordship? I don't think. I think it's like £200 or something to buy a lordship. Right, let me jump up and get some chat. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining for the first time, we are talking this morning. Yes, we are. We're talking this morning about World War III and the reality of what we are facing. So this comes as there's been the new peace talks and the new peace negotiations and the new whatever. I don't know what they're calling it now with Zelensky and Trump. And literally, the best thing to come out of this. So, you know, like, literally, like, you know, the other day when I was on the live stream and I can't remember who it was who said, Sean, what's going to happen at this meeting tomorrow with Trump and Zelensky? You know, Donald Trump's they've got this new 20-point peace plan and he's spoken to Putin and they're happy that, I said, nothing's going to happen. Literally, absolutely nothing will happen. You know, I will say I was wrong about one thing. I said that after the meeting, Donald Trump would say he's going to have a phone call with Putin. No, that actually happened before. So Trump had the phone call with Putin before the meeting. So I guess I did get that thing the wrong way around. Anyway. But it's all over the media, you know, and it's just phenomenal what they're talking about. So I'll read you this article from Sky News now. It's easy to get lost in multi-point plans and spin. But Zelensky's reaction to Trump said it all. So the notable takeaways for the peace plan, for the peace negotiations, for the ceasefire, for the young men to stop unaliving themselves this is what we're going off. Zelensky's facial expressions. That's literally what we're going off. So there's been nothing said, nothing's been agreed, nothing's changed, but what we can have solid. We get solid information now, guys, because of Zelensky's facial expressions. I'm not making this up. I promise you guys, I'm not making this up. Let me share it with you. I'm not making this up. There. So this is, this is what they're talking about. This is what the mainstream media are giving you. Zelensky's facial expressions. At times he looked like this, and at sometimes he looked like this. Yeah, you've still got young men. You've still got young men in those trenches. On both sides. There's young men on both sides. And British. And British men. We know there are British out there because they're coming back in body bags. Band again is saying 80 years of USA and NATO is over. Lefty NATO countries have destroyed the power of the Western world. You see, I don't see America losing I don't see the United States losing their, the geography of America is too phenomenal. It is like the geography of America is, honestly, guys, like the size of America, first of all, the size of America is huge. It's huge. It's not as big as, and we look at the map of Russia and we think, oh, Russia's bigger, which it is. Now, most of Russia, you can't do anything with that land. You can't do anything with it. America, you can do stuff with that land. You can farm. You can farm on that land, which is a huge, plus. You can farm on that. I think America has double the population of the UK. Let me. That might be wrong. Population of the United States. Hang on. No, it's more than double. So maybe like 4 times. Yeah, call it 4 times more. So the United States have 4 times more people than the United Kingdom, but they have like 40 times more land. So America has a huge land advantage. Now, with that land, you can grow stuff. You can grow food, which is always good. You can have solar farms. You can have, they've got oil. They've got resources. That's in America. To the west, on the west coast, you've got the Pacific Ocean. Nobody is coming to attack America via the Pacific Ocean. Not going to happen. No way, Bob. Not going to happen. To the east, you have the Atlantic Ocean. Nobody's coming over that Atlantic Ocean, guys. Nobody's coming over that Atlantic Ocean. To the south, you have Mexico, which is like a buffer. And then you have the Panama Canal. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're natural choke points. It's not going to happen. So nobody's coming from the south. Nobody's going to attack America from the south. Nobody's going to attack America from the west. Nobody's going to attack America from the east. Not going to happen. Zero chance of that. From the north, you've got Canada. And again, Canada will be a buffer zone. So yes, Russians could send a task force over from the north, but good luck with that. That means you're going to have to wait for winter. That means they're going to have to cross the Arctic. Then they're going to have to go through Canada. Again, good luck with attacking from the north. So America is naturally protected. It's naturally protected. There's nobody going to attack America. Nobody's going to be at the borders. It's just not going to happen. They have money, resources, finances. They have the biggest military in the world. America are going nowhere soon. I would say America are going to be in charge for at least another 100 years. At least. John Scott is saying, yeah, it's in a good position. It is. The Americans are in a fantastic position. Band again is saying, Andrew Bridgen says, Rupert Lowe slung out of reform by Lee Anderson, not Nigel Farage. Well, Lee Anderson would Well, Lee Anderson's the whip, right? So he would throw them out, I think. Danny Walker is saying, morning, Sean. And I'm saying, morning to you, Danny Walker. What have I missed? Hope everyone had a good Christmas. Well, we've been talking about this this craziness, the craziness with then these ridiculous ceasefire negotiations and peace talks. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. There's going to be no peace in Ukraine until, what? Listen, when you get these people on the news and they say, oh, Zelensky's got this plan and Donald, it's all bullshit. It's all absolute BS, guys. If anybody's ex-military out there or serving military, a few things are true when you're talking about military operations. The ground will dictate your people. The ground will dictate your movements. All right. You get that drilled into you from your first junior commanders all the way through your career when you're doing tactics. The ground dictates your movements. There's no exception to that. Zero exception. Now, the ground in Ukraine necessitates that the Russians make their way to the river Dnipro. And no one can have a ceasefire negotiation before that. Why? Because there's nothing there. It's literally open fields. Yes, the Ukrainians have built, they look quite substantial, but the Russians will take over them. These long defensive positions they've built, they've done, I think it's barbed wire. Let me see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find an image, actually. Maybe this one. Hang on. Give me a second, guys. Let me try and find this. I'll just have a quick look, see if I can find this for you. There's a video going. No, I can't. Yeah, do you know what? This is a good one. Let me share this with you. So the Ukrainians have been building these defensive fortifications. Let me share this video with you guys. So I've not seen this video. But these are the defensive. These are the defensive positions that the Ukrainians have built all the way on the front line. Now, what I'm assuming we're looking at here is. Now I've seen some CGI of this, but this is when you see CGI and these computer generated images. It's very easy to think they're very competent, but the reality on the ground is very different. So this is the reality on the ground. So you've got these berms here. So these are the initial berms that it will be hard for tanks to get over. And then you've got a tank ditch, and then you've got another berm, and then you've got another tank ditch, and then you've got barbed wire, and then you've got same on the other side. So while I believe this will slow the Russians down, let's see what the video shows. I've not seen this video, guys.
Кто видела там в ТикТоках, видосах, просто там одна фигня и вот эти зубы дракона не закрепленные, а тут прям так все максимально сделано. 3 ряда, метров 500 марш-бросок такой какой-то надо сделать суровый. Вот.
Okay, so that's a tank ditch. So tanks. Let me see.
Вот такое вот оно высокое, ну.
Okay, so this is what they're showing here is a tank trap. Now you get a tank won't be able to get over that. It will stove itself in.
Длина, наверное, метра 4. Правильно. Сука, если бы еще меньше пиздили, блядь.
She swore. She said very bad words then, guys. I'm just going to leave it there because I don't want her to swear anymore. She said some very bad words. So they're the defenses that the Ukrainians have built. Now, that's fine. That's all well and good. It will take maybe a day or so for the Russians to get over them. When you talk about in the 1970s, it might be in the 80s. I think it was the 70s. Anyway, the Russians did an exercise in Kiev. And what they did is the Russians, they sent all their military from, I think it was from Moscow to Kiev. They were part of the Soviet Union then. And the exercise, they dug within 24 hours, or maybe it was 48. Maybe, I don't know. 48 hours is still ridiculous. They dug underneath the River Dnipro in Kiev and out the other side. So those tank ditches and those, you know, these fortifications that we're seeing, they are going to slow, they're barely going to slow they will slow the Russians down, and they will slow the Russians down, but that's all they're going to do. It's just going to slow the Russians down. I mean, you know, those fortifications are fine if you have the manpower to cover that with, right? So if you have the manpower to stand behind those fortifications, let me share this again, actually. There. So if you have the manpower to cover these fortifications with men, with anti-tank weapons, with you know, machine gun fire, with mortars, with heavy weapons, you know, that's a real fortification. But at best, you know, you can get over that at best with like a, I don't know, like a JCB or one of those like things that just push dirt. You'll get over that easily. You know, so at best case, these fortifications are just going to slow the Russians down. That's why nothing's going to happen until the Russians get to the River Dnipro. So why Ukraine slow Russian to 1% in 2 years? Scott, I don't know what that means, mate. Oh, hang on. That's before drones existed. Okay, right. Look, guys. Everybody's seen these. Everybody's seen these things. You know, these drones. You've all seen the pictures online of the guys with the goggles on, and they're zooming these drones around, and they're taking those tanks out. Yes, those videos are not fake. Those videos are real. Yes, the drone warfare has massively increased. The problem is it doesn't really replace artillery. Okay, so I'm going to give you the maths now. I'm going to give you the maths, all right? I've done this before. I'm going to give you the maths with drones, all right? Each one of these, all right, has to be controlled by one operator, yeah? So one guy with the goggles has to operate that drone, right? That's the reality. There's no way around it. So you've got one guy with his little drone, and you need to send a few of these, right? You need to send a few of these because the Russians, whoever, they're standing there with shotguns. Some of them fall out the skies. The fiber optics might get snagged. There's all sorts of things that can take these drones out the sky before they hit the tank or whatever. So there's a lot of things that can happen. So let's say that your enemy is 20 kilometers away, right? 20 kilometers away. And let's say this thing is traveling at 60 kilometers an hour, all right? That means that that drone, without stopping for a reconnaissance break, is going to take 20 minutes to get there, right? And let's say there's a tank, one tank, and you want that tank destroyed, so you're sending 5 drones after that tank. It's going to take 5 men or women. It's going to take 5 people 20 minutes to get to that tank, right? and you may to get those 5 munitions on that tank. It's going to take 20 minutes. And then if you want to send another 5, it's going to take another 20 minutes. So that's going to take 40 minutes. In 20 minutes, how many artillery rounds do you think you can fire? In 20 minutes? Yeah, it's a lot more, right? It's like an order of magnitude more. So while drones, yes, they are having an effect on the battlefield, they're not really replacing artillery. Artillery is still king, and artillery will always be king. Well, artillery is king. Drones aren't. They are changing the battlefield, but they're not changing it disruptively. You're replacing the mass of artillery with the precision of drones, and you're not really. It's not really a game changer. You're just swapping something out. So I would say, me personally, I would go with, if I had a choice between artillery guns and a competent crew and drones and a competent crew, because think of all the components in a drone. You know, you've got your propellers, you've got your autopilot, you've got your payload, you've got your gimbal, your cameras, you've got your control system, you've got your fiber optics. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with that, right? There's a lot of things. The more components, the more likelihood it's going to go wrong. With your artillery, literally, you throw that thing down the barrel, it's gone. So yes, drones they have changed the battlefield. They've not made a game changing. It's not a game changing. It's not a game changer. So now you think about these two teams, right? You think about what two teams you've got, right? You've got 20 minutes, right? You've got 20 minutes. Do you want to send? So you've got 20 minutes, and you're both on both sides, and you get to choose your weapons. And you've got 20 minutes to attack the other team, right? Imagine a computer game. You've got 20 minutes. What is it better to send 5 drones? Let's go with a real. So an artillery crew, you're looking at 3 people, right? So is it better to send 3 drones and get maybe 3 kilos of explosives on that tank, on that target, on that location? Or is it better to have those 3 people as an artillery crew and fire hundreds of artillery rounds over? Literally, you can get hundreds of rounds down the range in 20 minutes. So I would say the artillery is the better option. Now, the reason drones have become so relevant is because it sounds cool. First of all, it sounds cool. Yeah, we're using drones. People are putting a lot of money into it because they think it's cheaper than artillery. It's not. Initially, when this war started, the Ukrainians didn't have the barrels, they didn't have the mortars, they didn't have the ammunition, and they were using it so quick. The artillery barrels, they need to be refurbished. They need to, you need to keep, so they're not really changing the battlefield as people think they are. Woody is saying 115 mile an hour average for most used in war. Send me where are you getting that information from, mate? I would say that is not really. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You guys know what I'm going, right? The time it takes, even at 115 mile an hour, even at 115 mile an hour, even at 115 mile an hour, which is what? Which is what? This is like 100 and what are we talking about? Are we talking about like 180? No, it's not 100. About 180 kilometers? I struggle to see that, guys. I struggle to see that speed. Anyway, even at those high speeds, it's still going to take time to get from your drone operator to the target, right? That time, and always, you're going to get more effective rounds on target by using artillery. That's the reality. They use the drones by the thousands. No, they do not, Slim. They don't. They do not. Slim, they don't. Okay, yes, they use the drones by the thousands, But think about it. Each one of those drones has to have a drone operator. It has to have someone with the goggles. Okay, right. So, okay, guys, look, we need to, okay, look, guys, we need to understand the difference here between drones, all right? So these drones, all right, these drones here are not the ones that people are putting FPV goggles on with, all right? Very different. These things work very different. Yes, these will travel, like I would say they travel fast. Actually, I would say they would travel faster than that and a lot higher. So you've got these fixed wing drones. This is why I got this picture, right? So you've got these drones, all right? And these ones, they travel really fast, but you don't control these with FPV, all right? These ones go really fast, longer distances. And these ones, these are the ones that you have just one mortar bomb on. So yes, so these ones are replacing cruise missiles. I think these ones will have an effect on the battlefield. Now, the problem with these ones, manufacturing these ones, is the engines, all right? It's the engines on these. You can't produce engines at the scale that it is necessary to have that effect. Ladies and gentlemen, look how granular I'm giving these answers. Look how granular I'm giving these answers. Look at how deep I'm going into these things. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you've not done so already. You never see the drones that fails, only the ones that hit the target. Yeah, you do. Absolutely. You know, and there's a lot of media out there, and it has to be out there, you know, showing how effective these drones are. Because the footage is terrifying when you see these. It's terrifying. You don't see the ones that get snagged on a tree and just stove in. You don't see the drones that stop for a reconnaissance break, because a lot of these drones, they will have ammunition on them, and then they will just stop somewhere on the roof of a building or, you know, somewhere, and they'll just wait for a target. They may not take off again because they've been snagged, the batteries fell off, a propeller's hit something. You never see that, right? You only see these ones, okay? Remember, okay, there's different types of drones. This is why I got that picture printed off. Yeah, look, guys, okay, so yes, all right, these ones are not going to travel 200 miles an hour. These ones can absolutely travel 200 miles an hour. X82 is saying you're better than Christmas TV, Sean. Woody is saying drones are far from slow. Right, look, guys, I'm gonna listen, ladies and gentlemen, all right, later on this afternoon, I'm gonna do a dedicated live stream, and all I'm gonna do is talk about drones, okay? Because everything people are saying is true, but you need to understand the perspective of that. So these things, realistically, 60 kilometers an hour. I struggle to see these things going any faster. These things, the fixed wings, they can go a lot faster, okay? They can go a lot faster, right? Sean is saying, Sean is an old-fashioned soldier. He can't accept tech is taking his job. Look, guys, I'm gonna do a standalone live stream on drones, okay? Because when you say the word drone, there are so many different systems. For example, right? For example, you can build one of these that goes really, really fast. You know, really, really fast. It's going to be very expensive, and you're not going to be able to use it in the thousands, all right? That's the reality. You're not going to be able to use that in the thousands, right? You can put different payloads in. You can put, you know, so when we talk about drones, the whole thing, it's a massive subject. And I'm going to jump on It's a massive subject. I'm going to jump on, and I will do later on today, guys. Before I do the live stream at 8 o'clock, I will come on and I will do a standalone video on drones. I will talk everybody through drone warfare, the advancements in drone warfare, where I personally think drone warfare is going. Because counter to this argument here, I do think drone warfare is it's a massive part of the future, and that technology is going to take over. It's just not there yet. The technology is not there yet, and that's the reality, guys. All right, it's moving in that direction, but it's not there yet. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, 3D printing is way cheaper than buying shells. Right? Yes, it is, but the time it takes to 3D print something, it's phenomenal. And you can't 3D print anything that's explosive. It just doesn't work like that. You know, so you're still going to have your shells, you know. And when you're talking about a global conflict on an industrial scale, listen to this, guys, okay? Money is not a factor. Money doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is speed and production capacity, all right? So you're looking at speed. So if anybody's ever if anybody uses a 3D printer, they take forever. They're not quick. All right. So you can build things quicker by hand than 3D printing. And I'm talking at mass scale now. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to the granular answers. Look, guys, the crux of this live stream, I need to go because I've got to go and get some stuff done. World War III, the reality we're facing. I've just talked about that. We've got Keir Starmer. We're welcoming in this extremist who's putting some crazy things on social media. He's claiming that he doesn't want people sent to prison for social media posts while sending people to jail for social media posts. I'm going to be back on later this afternoon, guys, and I'm just going to talk about drones. I'm going to do a live stream. I'm going to talk all about drones, and I'm going to give you guys the lowdown. I'm going to let you guys know the reality on the ground. So for those of you guys who've been commenting, get some articles up and get some systems ready to share with me, and we'll talk about it, all right? I'm doing this in real time. I'm literally doing this in real time. I'm doing this. All this information is off the top of my head. It's all in the brain. It's all in the grey matter, ladies and gentlemen. I will speak to you guys later. If you're going to be one of the nerds that are on it later on this afternoon, get your best drone research done. And I'll answer your questions in real time, and I won't know what your questions are. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave this down now. I'll be back on at 8 o'clock. I'll also be back on this afternoon talking about drones, and I'll see you guys later.